Welcome to the Barbados Olympic Association Inc. television series, Inside Lane. I am Dr. Pamela Proverbs. Join me as I take a look inside the BOA to see some of its work and hear from BOA officials, national federations, sports officials, and athletes about the state of sport in Barbados. Stay with us. Welcome back. With me is President of the Barbados Olympic Association Inc., Miss Sandra Osborne. Welcome, Ms. Osborne. What is happening? Since the pandemic, sports has been one of the hardest hit by the pandemic. Is work still continuing at the BOA? What have you been doing?
Without a doubt, work has been continuing. Of course, the staff we've closed the office, and the office was closed for quite a long time. Staff work remotely. The board continued to work remotely. Commissions continued to work remotely. And we continued on our programs. To a large extent, we've gone virtual. We've gone online. So, for example, the Academy was able to transition into a lot of virtual offerings. And that actually, I think, is a great thing because it allows us the platform to reach a number of athletes and other stakeholders who we would normally not have reached because of the face-to-face. In addition to that, we've spent a lot of time streamlining and refining our athlete funding model. We've looked at a number of internal policies and generally speaking, continue to liaise with our athletes, continue to support them as best we can in this environment. So it's fair to say that even although the Olympics were put off and a number of other things got postponed, that we have continued to be busy. As a matter of fact, I think for my part, I would say that I feel like if I am communicating more with my colleagues and my team members than before, because we're just in constant contact virtually.
I know that one of the programs you've been working on is athlete safeguarding. Mm-hmm. Tell me, where did it originate and why is this program important?
So the first thing about athlete safeguarding is that, the need to safeguard athletes has been around for as long as we've had sports. The fundamental premise is that everyone has a right to participate in sports, free of harassment and abuse. And I think that we know that abuse comes in all kinds of forms. And some years ago, the International Olympic Committee created a toolkit to assist NOCs in developing a framework to manage the whole area of athlete safeguarding. And we have now taken that on board. And what we did was that we created a team of some of our staff members, and they worked with a member of the Athletes Commission, of the Barbados Athletes Commission, as well as a member of staff from UNICEF. And they were guided by, UNICEF was very, very helpful in creating the framework, and they were guided by the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child. We also looked at Barbados legislation, and of course we looked at the IOC toolkit. And we were able to come up with a policy which speaks at a very broad level of the role that the BOA would play in this area. And our role is fundamentally to sensitize, to educate, and to create a framework that will assist our national federations in managing this area.
What would you say has been the impact of your presidency thus far, and what does it represent for women and girls in sport?
In terms of the women in sport, I think that it is important for me to say I understand that women who may have been hesitant to run for some of these top positions may feel that they can now do it because they see that I've been able to stay there and lasted a couple of years so far. and to that extent, I hope that I am an inspiration to them. But I think that I cannot leave this topic without saying that we as women need to make sure that we do not pigeonhole ourselves into stereotypes. And, this role that I am in is about leading a National Olympic Committee as a president and not as a female president. And I feel strongly about that. When people talk about men, they don't talk about a male president and a male prime minister and so on. They talk about a prime minister and a president. So I think that we as women have to see ourselves we have to own the space. And the space is not a female space. The space is everybody's space. We need to own the space. And that is a message that I definitely think that we need to, to make sure that we reinforce and reinforce. That being said, I do think that it is because women have traditionally not sought top positions and have been quite comfortable as the secretary or the treasurer or whatever, that I think it's important, as I said, for us to step up. And as a friend of mine from Aruba says, and I think it's a beautiful, analogy, that when the elevator comes to the ground floor, we need to be able to step into it and ride right up to the top without looking back or thinking of getting off on the third floor or the fourth floor. Whatever the top floor is where we should be aiming for, because we're just as qualified. We're just as qualified. And as a matter of fact, I think that we even have a bit more empathy, if I dare say so. I think that women are, instinctively more empathetic about decisions that have to be made and so on. So I think we're well suited for these positions. But just to come back to the point that I was making about my vision for the BOA, for me, it was important for us to become more athlete-centered, and it was also important for us to reinforce good governance practices. And I think that we've done a number of things over the last couple of years to reinforce the athlete-centered nature of our drive. The first thing that we've done is that I think that there's a lot more clarity in terms of the direction that we want to take the BOA. And I think that we have done specific things like, for example, refined our funding model for our athletes. We've made it much more transparent and objective. For the first time, athletes can objectively determine whether they belong in a particular category or not. We have increased funding to athletes. We have. Now, one of the challenges that we've had is getting funds through the pipeline. And in particular, in 2020, moving into 2021, with sports not being played, we haven't been able to disburse as much as we would like. But the additional funding is there. We would have gotten additional funding from taxes on gaming, and 100% of that has been dedicated to athlete and athlete development. So I think that that's a plus. We've done things like, for example, transferred one of our members of staff to be dedicated to athlete support. Ryan Brathwaite does, that is what his job is to make sure that we can support athletes, all the record keeping that needs to be done, all the communication that needs to be done. I mean, we're even developing an app to help our athletes report, to make it easier for them, because that is a bit tedious. Right. And our allocations and funding commission has been completely revamped in order to make decision-making more flexible and more responsive to the demands that come from both national federations and from our athletes. So I think that we are on a journey, that I'm satisfied that we are focusing on the right things. I think that we've also paid a lot of attention to making sure that our governance practices and our management practices are best practice, and that is but these things are ongoing. And so I'm hoping that by the time I leave this position, that the BO will be a better place in terms of being able to serve our key stakeholders in a more responsive way.
Thank you for that. Ladies, I hope you were listening. When you get on that elevator on the bottom floor, ride it all the way to the top, as the president said. We'll be right back. Welcome back. March was a huge success for the BOA in terms of promoting the involvement of women in sport. And joining me to talk about it is Chair of the Women in Sport Commission and board member at the BOA, Miss Etania Wiggins. Can you tell me, what are some of the greatest challenges facing women in sport?
Women in sport face challenges depending on your geographical location. Overall, we lack representation in wages, media coverage, and if you look at representation across the national federations and the National Olympic Committee, at the leadership level, there's still a dearth of women who hold key decision-making positions.
It's true. You've had your International Women's Day activities and then the Esther Maynard Icon Award. What else is the BOA doing to encourage the participation of girls and women in sport?
All right, since its inception, based on the recommendation from the IOC, the Women in Sport Commission has been very focused on looking at the different aspects. We currently have a number of programs which we've been running for the last 5 years, and our programs are targeted towards different age groups. So for our girls, which are from 12 to 18 years old, we have the Play Like a Girl workshop. This is very focused on young female athletes because, as you know, the statistics show that our teenage years is the period where girls are most likely to stop participating in any sport or physical activity. So the concept for that program is to encourage and keep those young girls in the program for as long as we can. Our statistics and results there have been very good because what we recognize is when they go to their respective sports, they only see 1 or 2 girls. But when they come to the Play Like a Girl workshop, there are 26 sports. So that means it shows them that there are more people of their age experiencing the same challenges. And then we talk about the benefits of staying in sport. So that's one of our programs. The other program that we've been working on is our Time to Run. We speak about leadership. This is very important to us because it's okay to encourage women to participate in physical activity, but at some point you have to transition to be an official or an administrator. So that program is also targeted at females who are either A, sitting on a national federation board as an elected official, or someone that the association thinks is on the pathway, sort of in the pipeline. So we have been focusing on those 2 specifically for leadership and want to keep our younger athletes engaged.
Thank you, Etania. Best of luck with the Women in Sport Commission. We'll be right back. You cannot mention the Esther Maynard Icon Award without speaking to the lady herself. Welcome, Esther.
Thank you, Pam.
You have been there throughout the development of the Barbados Olympic Association from the time it was just a group of people with not this wonderful building. We're actually shooting from the BOA museum. Tell me, what has it been like for you being part of that?
Well, we went from like just the average association to an incorporated association to getting involved with the lottery and being able to have a regular source of income. And then by the incorporation, developing the structures that we needed with commissions, with all the mandates that you get the opportunity through the IOC. So we've grown and grown and grown over the years, and it has been amazing to watch that growth and development and the professionalism that has come along with it, and not just a group of volunteers, but with a staff that does an excellent job and is there as resource persons and helping the whole sporting structure in Barbados to grow.
So tell us, what has your journey been like?
It has been an amazing journey. Yes, you say a female pioneer in a male-dominated sport, but most of virtually all of my mentors and people who have pushed me have been male. I've never felt being dominated by the males. I've been always able to work and grow as a result of their confidence in me, and the world became virtually my oyster with the things that I've been able to do because there were particularly men that I worked with that recognized that I was serious and passionate about what I did and pushed me and provided the opportunities for me to grow and develop.
If we look now at the state of sport, are you happy based on, what you've seen over the years? Are you happy with where we are in terms of our participation, our facilities, and expertise that we have grown here in Barbados?
We have grown, but not enough. We have grown, but not enough. I repeat that. Yes, there are opportunities through the same things that we've mentioned, like the Barbados community college, the Olympic Association, and also UENO with their sports science programs and so on. But the bedrock of any sport development is starting from the primary school level. Yes, we have a lot of sports going on there, but I would like personally to see more education being done, physical education as opposed to sport. That is just one aspect of it. But when you look at things like facilities, we're lagging behind. We appreciate that there's only one cake to cut up and it has to be shared among all the various things that government sets out to do. But not because track and field is my sport, but all the sports need an adequate facility, because you can't train in one type of facility and then, or one standard of a facility, and expect then to compete at the high-tech level. You're not prepared for it. And we need more facilities, both at grassroots level, as well as better facilities for the elite sports that we are involved in.
Thank you, Esther, for what you have done for women in sport in Barbados. Up next, I go virtual to speak to our mystery athlete and to the woman who won this year's Esther Maynard Icon Award, Miss Kathy Harper Hall. Stay with us.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Twat and I'm a competitive surfer. This year I'm working towards Olympic qualification and a world ranking in the top 10. These goals couldn't be possible without the help from the Barbados Olympic Association and the Barbados Lottery. And today I'd like to tell you that you can help support my fellow Barbadians and I. Play the Going for Gold scratch game and help us make our country proud.
We are now virtual. And with me is the Esther Maynard Icon Awardee 2021, Miss Kathy Harper Hall. Tell me, Harper Hall, where did you get your passion for sports? Where did it actually come from?
My real passion for sports started when I came to the East. Well, it started with Leela Robinson in Jamaica. And she was like a rail slave driver. So once you were involved with Leela Robinson, you had to do what you have to do. So whether you had the passion or not, you had better develop the passion. And then having worked with her when I came to Barbados and met Lystra Lewis, then she was another slave driver. And so again, you had to have the passion to do what you have to do. So if that answers your question, how did I get so passionate about sport? That is where it all started.
Wow. Tell me, you've been around for a while, so you started with a whole lot of men and sports being dominated by males. What has your journey been like as a woman in sport?
Quite frankly, Pam, I really never considered myself a woman in sport. I considered myself a person in sport. And so I kept matching up with the men. You know, I remember when Dr. Wilson asked me in 1977 to come to Weymouth and take minutes for his Boxing Association meeting because his secretary was in the hospital. And because he was my family doctor, I said I would go. I took the minutes. And when I gave him the minutes, he said, "Oh, you would make a good secretary." I said, "No, I would not make a good secretary for boxing because I know absolutely nothing about boxing. And for me, boxing was barbaric." And so, but it was all men around. Anyway, I continued taking the notes for him, and that was, and then when they had the meeting in 1978 to elect new officers, for much to my consternation, I was nominated for secretary, and I was the only person nominated for secretary. So I decided if I'm going to take this, I'm going to have to learn about the sport. And so later that same year, they put on a course. They brought in someone from overseas, and they put on a course. I went and did the course. And believe it or not, in the theoretical aspect of it, I was top of the class, and there were 15 men and myself in the course. Of course, the men were all upset because I taught the class, but it was more of an academic thing than but you were learning things about the sport, but it was quite academic. Of course, I decided I did not want to go into the ring, so I didn't want to be a referee. So they could keep that part of it. So I just got the certification as a judge, and that was good for me.
Thank you very much, Harper Hall. When we come back, we will be speaking to our mystery athlete. Stay with us. Okay, so our first athlete or mystery athlete this week is none other than Tia Adana Bell. Welcome, Tia.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Tell us a bit about yourself and how you got involved in track and field.
Well, I am 24 years old. I have been running track seriously, I want to say from the age of, let's say 13, but I've been running from nursery school. I got my first gold medal at Eltondale Nursery. So yeah, I've been running from a kid, let's say 4 years old, but I took it really serious in secondary school because my first love was netball, I must say. But but yes, but in order to move on with life and career, I chose track and field.
Yes. Wow. So we know you're preparing for the Olympics, right? So tell me how your preparation is going. You've been an Olympian before, so you know what to expect. How is your preparation going?
It's been tough, I must admit. The pandemic, it really took a toll on everything. I wasn't expecting it to be this bad. I know it was gonna have some fallout and stuff like that, but the pandemic really put a knife in a lot of stuff. And being at hurdles is a rhythm race. I am finding it hard to get back into my rhythm. And I'm trying to run. I'm racing more. I'm racing more than I usually do. I had a good season in the 400, and then I had a 4 hurdles race. It was going so good, and I fell over the hurdles. So I'm now trying to get back from that fall, and it's been a little tough. I'm not going to act like it's been smooth sailing, and the pandemic really messed with the rhythm of the hurdling and stuff like that. A whole year off really took a toll on everything. But I'm a fighter, so I'll make it. I'll get through this. This is just another hurdle, and I'm a hurdler, so I can handle this. Yeah.
Nice. Tell me about some of the meets, because I know right now you're in Europe, right? Tell us about the meet you're at.
I'm on the way to Europe.
You're on the way to Europe.
I leave tonight. As soon as I get off this call, I am heading to the airport.
Okay, so tell us where you're going. Tell us what meets you've been to and where you're going now.
But so far for this year, I've only done local meets, just around here in the U.S. and the American Track League and stuff, and Drake Relays and stuff like that. I leave now and I go to Amsterdam. I have a meet in Netherlands, and then I have my first time leave for the year in Florence, Italy. That's on June 10th, and then I have a 400 after that. I think on my birthday, and then I go back to Switzerland, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Okay, so you're hoping to qualify for the Olympics. Well, at least get qualifying time, because you have to come back to Barbados to run in nationals here. So you're hoping to have a qualifying time at one of these
yeah,
meets.
Definitely. Luckily, we don't have to come home for nationals. Thank God, because of the COVID. So we don't have to come to Barbados. So it helps a lot with preparation going into the games. You get more competitive races, and it works out pretty good. So I'm kind of happy that we don't have to come home for nationals this year. And yeah, so good jobs by the association for that, I must say. And it helps the athletes a lot because we get more competition and get back into the rhythm and, stay on top of stuff this year.
Thank you very much. I wish you all the best in your journey to the Olympics.
Thank you.
That's it, folks. See you next time for another Inside Lane brought to you by the Barbados Olympic Association Inc.